Okay, let's get to the actual debate.
Josh, opening statement. Feel free to respond, and then we'll proceed as we go. So that was about 3.5, 4 minutes. So same amount of time.
All right, so it's really great to be here. Thank you, Charlie, for having me. Thank you, Turning Point, for having me back. It's really wonderful to be at this amazing conference. You know, Dave joked that he didn't get any sleep last night. Today's actually also a fast day on the Jewish calendar. I'm not eating or even drinking water. So we're all on the same page here. We're all just totally screwed. So you can kind of get off the same starting place there. Look, there's a lot of substance to respond to. I'll just really briefly do that, and then we'll talk about what I actually want to talk about in my opening remarks. Dave mentioned this alleged coordination between the neoconservatives, which I presume he means Bush-era foreign policy, and the Likud party. I presume half of you probably don't even know what the Likud party is. It's referring to the Israeli right. It's very instructive, and Dave always conveniently neglects to inform the audience of this, that the actual leader of the Israeli right back in 2002, a man by the name of Ariel Sharon, vehemently opposed the Bush administration going into Iraq. So this whole notion that Israel is talking America into foreign wars is total nonsense. Actually, in 2011, when the Obama administration toppled Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, it's actually well known that Libya actually sent secret diplomatic envoys to Israel, trying to tell them to then talk to the United States and France to talk NATO off of that attack there. So this whole narrative is totally backwards there. But I want to kind of dumb things down a little bit here. I see a lot of people wearing 47 hats. I voted for President Trump multiple times. I love our president. You guys love our president, right? You love President Trump? Okay. This is Turning Point freaking USA.
Whether you love him or whether you hate him, obviously he's not perfect. No presidents are perfect. There's a lot of messed up crap Trump's been doing and has been doing, and it's just like, why on earth are you doing this? Some stuff I like about Trump, a lot of stuff I don't. So 50-50.
Hey, Charlie, God bless you. You have built the largest MAGA grassroots army in the country. Seriously, my friend, you deserve this. You all are card-carrying members of it. We here are part of that. The good news is that while no one should be afraid of debate, and this debate is a nice thing here, the MAGA movement is actually quite unified. Believe it or not, all the talk to the contrary when it comes to these issues. An overwhelming majority of self-identified MAGA Republicans supports close U.S.-Israel relations. According to a CBS News poll, moreover, after the recent Operation Midnight Hammer B-2 bombers in Iran, 94% of self-identified MAGA Republicans supported President Trump's dropping those B-2 bombs on Fort Natanz and the other Iranian facilities there. This is a wildly popular policy there. What did Dave Smith say about this? He re-upped his now years-long crusade to call for Donald Trump's impeachment. Y'all probably don't know that about Dave Smith, do you? He's now called for Donald Trump to be impeached multiple times. But Dave, look, I don't like when people misquote me either. You probably don't like when people misquote you. So I actually have a little bit of a highlight reel here of Dave Smith's tweets over the years. Dave Smith, March 19th, 2024. Donald Trump is responsible for around 500,000 deaths in Yemen, and between the weapons to Ukraine and the Abraham Accords Jerusalem embassy, he is at least partially responsible for the two worst humanitarian crises in the world. He's a war criminal who should spend his life in prison. He is calling Donald Trump a war criminal.
I mean, with what he's doing against these alleged drug boats, he kind of is, if we all think about this. He kind of is.
Who should spend his life in prison. You should be livid at that. I am livid at that as a Trump supporter. Donald Trump, Dave Smith, June 16, 2025. Trump allegedly had full prior knowledge of Israel's attacks and gave it his blessing while pretending to be negotiating with the Iranians as a cover. If this is true, Trump is the most impotent bitch of a leader imaginable. He's calling our president, the greatest president in my lifetime, an impotent bitch.
So?
Are you kidding me? June 21st, 2025, Donald Trump has now launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The risk of an absolute catastrophe is very high, and the benefits are non-existent. Dave Smith, June 21st. Dead wrong. This notion that World War III would start, not a single American casualty. We should be celebrating that. Donald Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises. The escalator speech in 2015 at Trump Tower, he literally said, I'm not going to let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And guess what? He said, I oppose a neoconservative.
Well, he also said he was going to release the Epstein files, and he never did, so And that's way bigger than anything else that
Foreign
he said he
policy.
was going to do.
He did
So
both
yeah,
of
or
those
the
things
Epstein
with Iran.
files.
He deprived the Iranian regime of nuclear weapon while not losing a single American sailor, soldier, or Marine, while depriving them of nuclear weapons. And finally, Charlie, I'll end on this. Dave Smith, July 8th, 2025. In the last month, Donald Trump has launched a war of aggression on behalf of a foreign government, exploded the debt, announced that he's continuing the Biden policy of arming Ukraine, and covered up a giant child rape operation. So according to my interlocutor, Donald Trump is not just engaging in wars on behalf of a foreign government, he is also covering up the world's giant pedophilic child sex trafficking ring, allegedly, I presume, on behalf of a foreign government as well. So I'm disgusted, frankly. That
if he really wasn't protecting all those pedophiles, he would easily and immediately, and if he wasn't on the list, he would release the Epstein files. And even if he does release the Epstein files, he might not release all of it because he's probably on it. That's probably why he didn't want to release it the first time, because Trump's name is on the Epstein files. That's why he doesn't want to release it.
on stage, but I'll end it at that.
Okay, well, got it. So, you can see peace is hard. I'm trying to keep the peace. Now, Dave, I want to give you an opportunity, about 4 minutes to respond to that. But also, I do want to, now that we had the opening salvos and the Tomahawk missiles launched, let's respond as you see fit. No, and then bring us to the 12-day war. Because let's stay focused on that.
Yeah.
We can.
Well, the thing, Charlie,
but defend yourself.
Sure.
Obviously.
Well, the thing is, Charlie, as you may have noticed, some of you may have seen some of my other debates. Every single time I come up here to debate issues, and they come up here to debate me and my character. It's all they have every single time, because they can't.
That is
they
true.
can't
They do
actually
attack.
take on any of the arguments.
They do also have personal insults on Dave Smith and people in general. They have personal insults on Charlie Kirk when they lose debates. Like, this
And so the most pathetic, low-hanging fruit of, you guys like Trump, this guy said bad things about Trump. Listen, guys, I'm a free American. I supported Donald Trump in this last election. Yes, he did just actively cover up a giant child rapist ring, and I'm going to criticize him for that, okay? And I'm sorry, after all these years of us right-wingers saying, protect the children, come on, that's bad for your soul if you don't. You speak up about that. It's horrible what he's doing. And, you know, as far as the actual substance of what Josh said here, which there really wasn't much, but I already pointed this out the last time we debated. His topic about how Sharon was against the war in Iraq is total nonsense. Sharon's envoy initially opposed it when he found out that Bush was going to invade Iraq, not because he didn't want Saddam Hussein to be overthrown, but because he wanted regime change in Iran first.
Exactly. That's probably one reason or two that Saddam Hussein was killed. Israel said Iraq had nukes in those countries surrounding them in the Middle East, and guess what? Not a single freaking nuke was found, and all those innocent people killed by the USA, and nothing to see here. They killed Saddam Hussein because Israel said they had nukes. Okay, even if they did have nukes, was about hundreds of thousands of innocent people being killed in those wars right? Was it justified? No, not at all.
And then, when the George W. Bush administration assured him that Iran would come next, they got on board with it and they started pumping out all types of propaganda about how Saddam Hussein's nuclear secret sites that didn't exist. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest serving prime minister in Israeli history, that year, in 2002, came to Congress and testified under, a congressional testimony that anyone can go watch, and advocated not that the U.S. let Israel do it, but that the U.S. overthrow Saddam Hussein. I believe his words were, "I guarantee that peace will spread through the region." And he also advocated that we overthrow Muammar Gaddafi and the mullahs in Iran. So you're just wrong about it. That's not true. And yes, have I been critical of Donald Trump when I think he gets things wrong? Yeah.
Well, I think that's
what we should do. This is America. You criticize the government when they get things wrong. And so I don't even know what else.
Josh, wait 1 sec, Josh. I got to keep the peace here. Dave, about a minute-ish.
Okay.
A minute and a half. No, I'm taking the right time.
Look, as far as
take about a minute and a half and try to do the 12-day war thing.
Yeah, sure. As far as the 12-day war goes, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Donald Trump, it might be the greatest thing he's ever done in his life that at the end of the 12-day war, he after the Iranian response was as weak as it was, and they gave us advanced warning, so there were no American casualties, he started pushing for a ceasefire. And that was great that he did that. But the point is that the war never needed to be launched to begin with. Iran did not have nuclear weapons. Iran, according to all of the intelligence, including our director of national intelligence, until a day after Israel bombed them and she changed her mind, go read the annual threat assessment from earlier this year. Iran had not made the political decision to acquire a nuclear weapon, and they were in negotiations with Donald Trump at the time to bring their enrichment down. There was just no need other than the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu wants that regime overthrown.
Josh, feel free to respond. Thank you.
I'd be curious if Dave Smith also believes in the tooth fairy and pink unicorns. I mean, what lie does Dave Smith not believe, frankly? Look, the recent...
This guy is such a freaking liar. It's so frustrating to watch this guy talk. Like, holy crap, dude.
12-day war is literally the encapsulation of the Trump doctrine of foreign policy. Donald Trump ran against neoconservatism. He is not a neoconservative.
And this guy likes Trump way too much. And funny thing, he's a Jew. He believes in the Bible, he's a Jew by faith and all this, and he believes Israel should be first, I guess. And Trump's the same way, I too guess, because we are sending so much money to Israel, it is absolutely insane. We already sent like $200 billion to Ukraine, which was already bad enough, but now we're sending so much money to Israel. Why do you think Israel is 15th best military? Why do you think they have nuclear weapons? Nukes. Because of the USA. Because if it wasn't for the USA, they wouldn't have nukes and they wouldn't be 15th.
Conservative. That's good because neoconservatism is actually really, really bad. I actually have a whole chapter in my book, Israel and Civilization, talking about how bad neoconservatism is. It's chapter 7. If you haven't read, you should go ahead and pick up a copy. So it's really good that Donald Trump opposes moralistic nation-building boondoggles. Guess what Donald Trump is also not and never has been since day one? He's never been a hardcore isolationist. He is a foreign policy nationalist and realist. We would say that he is a Jacksonian. He is in the mold of Andrew Jackson, one of his favorite presidents of all time, because he believes in generally following the very wise advice of George Washington in his farewell address that you should beware of foreign entanglements. But when you are attacked, you are going to punch back 3 times as hard. How many times has Trump said that in a debate there? When he's punched, he's going to punch back really, really, really hard. What happened in the 12-day war?
This guy just loves to avoid the fact that Trump is literally protecting the pedophiles. He's protecting himself too because he's probably in the Epstein files and he's got nothing to say about the Epstein files. Josh Hammer. He's got absolutely nothing to say. He's just like, oh, Trump did this and it's so good. Trump did this and it's so good. Hey, Josh, what about the Epstein files? Is that thought ever in your mind?
But you had a close ally, Israel, that through their wonderful control of the skies, they're taking out the missile launchers and the IRGC command there, essentially paved a very clean runway through that and their neutralizing Hezbollah last year in 2024 that then allowed the United States to come in with the B-2 bombers and the death blow. It was a perfect alley-oop. For you basketball fans, it was kind of like Kobe Bryant tossing it to Shaquille O'Neal back in the way. It was a perfect tag team operation to neutralize and set back by many years the threat of a regime that, whether or not we care to admit it, has actually been at war with the United States at least since the 1983 Beirut, Lebanon, Hezbollah barracks bombings that slaughtered 241 Marines, arguably since the 1979 hostage crisis as well. Again, Donald Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises. He set back the nuclear program, not a...
Also, I just want to say this. What about the U.S. Liberty? Remember that? Israeli fighter jets attacked this USA Navy ship and freaking... I forgot who the president was at the time. It was the guy who was the president, who was the vice president for JFK when JFK was assassinated, and then he became president. Forgot what his name was. Very, very old though. McNamara, which was the Secretary of Defense or something like that, he told the guys to not do anything about it. And the only way for a secretary or whatever he was to do that is he needs the president's call. So the president at the time told him not to send any help to get those USA guys out of there. Lots of guys were injured, lots of guys were hurt, and everybody else was like, we gotta go, we gotta stop the Jews, or Israel, or whatever, or whoever did it. Because at the time, they weren't 100% sure, but all this information and everything, it was Israel that attacked that ship. And USA did absolutely nothing about it. I guarantee you this, if any other country attacked USA, there would be full-on war, USA would immediately react, but if Israel attacks USA, USA is going to cover it up and act like nothing happened. That's just how it works.
Single American soldier, sailor, or Marine died. It was a brilliant, brilliant move of statesmanship, a fantastical move. Frankly, it's a borderline Mount Rushmore worthy accomplishment, I would say.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to insert myself because I don't want us to talk past each other because these conversations have a tendency to do that. So I'm going to ask both of you a critical question that both of you guys already launched. Josh, to you first. Dave's contention, and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the nuclear program was not a threat, correct? That it was a intel push. Would you even say that? I'm strong-manning your argument, steel-manning it. Josh, what do you have to say to that, to the veracity of the claim that there was an imminent threat of Iran getting a nuclear bomb? That is a core point of Dave's argument. Then, Dave, I'm going to throw back an equally difficult question for you. Josh.
Okay, so I profess agnosticism as to the imminent nature, Charlie, because I have not seen the reports. Neither have you, neither has Dave. Literally, no one in this room has actually seen the report. So I do not know literally what the exactly imminent nature of the threat was. It would be impossible for me to say. I'm not going to bullshit you and pretend like I know because I simply don't know. What I can say is the following. Iran has transparently and obviously been trying to acquire a nuclear weapon for 2.5, 3 decades. We know this for approximately 1 to 2 million different reasons. Among them that we can point to is that the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Administration, which is essentially the nuclear watchdog for the United Nations, they have been sounding the alarm about this, and they have said very loudly and clearly that Iran has blocked their inspectors from going to inspect their enriched uranium, and that they have concluded over recent years, especially including recent months, that Iran is enriching uranium at a much quicker rate and to a much higher percentage and rate of enrichment than any civilian program would ever justify. By the way, the notion that Iran even needs a civilian program in the first place, I think, is kind of bonkers. It's one of the most petroleum, oil, and gas-rich countries in the world, so that's kind of a bit of a red herring in and of itself. But we know from a million different international organizations that they have been doing this. And Charlie, more to the point, again, Dave likes to say, oh, they just chant death to America, which they do. They literally chant it every single day in their Potemkin parliament. But they actually do act on it. They killed hundreds and hundreds of American soldiers on the roadside of Fallujah, Al-Anbar province during Iraq with Qasem Soleimani-supplied IEDs. They have killed Americans going back to the 241 Marines in Beirut, Lebanon. By the way, the Hezbollah jihadists who organized that operation to slaughter those Marines in Beirut, Lebanon in 1983 was a man by the name of Fuad Shakur. The U.S. State Department had a $5 million bounty on his head following the 1983 slaughter of the Marines there in Beirut. He went alive for 41 years. You know who killed him last year? The IDF. Israel took out this guy that the State Department had a $5 million bounty on for 41 years for killing 241 of our boys back in 1983 in Beirut.
So I'm going to now ask, I'm going to a really tough follow-up for you. You do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Bad. Would you, if it ever took, if it required U.S. troops on the ground, would that be worth Iran?
Well, I mean, if a bunch of the other countries can have nukes, how come Iran can't have nukes? Oh, because they're gonna nuke Israel. Which, if they nuke Israel, USA is probably gonna have a full sweep of Iran and absolutely destroy Iran. And if Iran nukes Israel, they might feel lots of impact because a nuke is insanely massive. It is destruction. It can literally destroy this world.
Nuclear weapon.
Charlie, with respect, I reject the premise. I simply do not think it does, actually.
I know. It's a hypothetical, but it's worth thinking about. Okay. Dave, I got to ask you tough questions now. Okay?
Yeah, but I want to respond to some of this stuff, because all of that's wrong.
You will. Hold on. I don't want us to talk past each other, else we're going to spend all this time on prime ministers in 2002 that the audience doesn't know about.
No, but if he's making claims about like something that's just not true.
I want you to get to that. I want to just ask a very simple question. From your perspective, because I just asked the tough one to Josh, are you okay, or do you think we should do anything to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
Anything, sure. Yeah, there's lots of things I think we should do.
Is military action ever justified?
Well, again, yes, there are times when military action is justified, but if you're saying what we could do to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, what we were doing, Donald Trump was in negotiations with them, and I think he should have continued those. And the truth is that the big problem with the JCPOA that Obama got us into was that there were sunset provisions. They opened up a whole new inspections regime. It is not true that the IAEA is saying that Iran was about to get a nuclear weapon. Anybody you want, it's published online. You can go read the conclusion of their last report where they explicitly said Iran does not have nuclear weapons and is not trying to develop them. They are enriching at 60%, and they were in negotiations to maybe bring that down. But when you bring up the fact of the Marines getting killed in 1983, it's actually an interesting. Ronald Reagan, who was president at the time, he wrote about this in his memoir. Now, if you know what Ronald Reagan did, was he pulled out after that. He turned tail and run. And he said in his memoir, he said, I underestimated the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics, and we never should have gotten involved in that. Now, if you want to say that Iran backed them, okay. A couple years after that, Charlie, there was a scandal in the Reagan administration. It was the something Contra, Iran-Contra. That's right. Ronald Reagan was selling weapons to the Iranians a couple years after this happened. So to come back now 40 plus years later and use that as the excuse why we got to go to war with Iran. I mean, just think about how crazy this is. And the stuff he said about the roadside bombs in Iraq is just not true. It's been debunked. It's more war propaganda that's been debunked. I highly recommend anyone can read the book Enough
Have
Already.
you spoken to a
Josh, 1 second.
I highly recommend people read the book Enough Already. It is the best book that's been written about the terror wars by Scott Horton. He has all the footnotes in there. You can go through it yourself. It's completely debunked. Those roadside bombs were built by Shiites in Iraq. Now, some of them did have relationships with.
Well, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I just want to react to that and kind of watch it again. I completely agree with Dave Smith. I think Josh Hammer's a complete liar. And, yeah, I think Israel shouldn't be first. Like, America first. If you're the president or whatever and you have a leader and you're in America, you'd say America first. Not Israel first, or give so much money to Ukraine and get into these wars for no reason. Listen to Israel for regime change and all this other crap. You mind your own business. They mind their own business. Stay out of wars. Stop giving so much money away to Israel. America first. That's what I think. So I think Josh Hammer's a complete liar. That's my opinion. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys on the next one. Bye.